Your charm meter looks like this. It goes up when you, you know how it goes. This is the final part of my charm series. The other videos will be in the cards above. Finally, we're gonna talk about your confidence. Confidence is one's own summary judgment of everything about themselves. You can think of it as your stance, your hustle, your bonds, your mentality, and your ideology. Let's start with stance. This is your posture and expression. So what you look like and how you communicate to others. When you hear posture, you may be thinking that I mean the stereotypical stand up with your back straight, and I do think that has something to do with it. But I'm talking about your overall demeanor and body language. When first meeting someone, you automatically communicate information to them based on what your character model is doing. So depending on factors like sex and environment, this can lead them to assume different things about you. There's plenty of different rules online about what you should and shouldn't do, but it's important to note some of them can make broad generalizations about what exactly certain emotes mean. So for this category, we're gonna list 3 suggestions and not rules for solid body language. Number 1 is engage appropriately. This is all about not breaking taboo. Learn to get a feel of what is too little or too much gesturing. Don't spam your emote wheel. Don't lean in for a cheek kiss if it's your first time meeting someone and that's not the social norm. Think of something like making eye contact. You should try to do it, but don't stare. Specifically, try not to stare at other parts of the body that aren't the face. The occasional eye contact breakaway is good to relieve tension, and it builds connection that feels less intimidating. Staring is a surefire way to make someone nervous when you don't mean to. Which leads us into number 2, give and take. Much of what we do in communication is based on reciprocation. If you're in a playful environment, say something fun. Don't treat all social interactions like job interviews. You don't need a script prepared to talk to people either. There doesn't seem to be an update plan that gives pre-written dialogue prompts, unfortunately. Practice mirroring people's energy. If they're comfortable enough to crack a joke, try to make one back. Even if it's bad, it's about making sure both sides are involved. Number 3 is challenge nature. Fake it until you make it. It's no surprise that many people take their lack of high social stats as a fact and are stuck thinking they can't change. Truthfully, some people will do better at social interactions and do most, if not all of these suggestions without having to think about them. So if that doesn't sound like you, the first step to change is by accepting that you can improve. And know that you are going to have to work harder on getting more experience points in the social arena. By doing this, you can change your natural responses, and then you can interact without it feeling like you're thinking too much about what you're doing. That being said, here's a list of more specific tips that could work for you broken into each body part. Eyes. As said earlier, holding eye contact with someone is good for establishing a connection. And if you're in a large group, try to make occasional eye contact to whoever you're most interested in. Mouth. Refrain from holding a permanent grin and delay your smiling speed. When you're constantly smiling, it can look uncanny to those around you. Try to smile intentionally to who you're speaking to. This treats your smile as something that is gifted, but not guaranteed, and try to match the intensity of your smile to the situation in person. So save this kind of face for when you're home. Torso. Try to hold a neutral position that looks comfortable but not rigid, so don't slouch when standing or sitting. However, to build more engagement, practice leaning in slightly when someone is speaking. This shows that you want to hear what they have to say. Hands. Practice speaking with your hands. Conversations that involve more of the body are visually intriguing and can demonstrate comfortability. This should be used with caution, but work to break the physical touch barrier. A slight touch can be a method to establish intimacy. So this could start with a simple brush of the hand or a hug. Arms and legs. Take up your given amount of space. This isn't saying to lounge or sprawl out while sitting down, but don't bundle yourself to fit into the space. If there's enough room around you, there's no need to be rigid and have your arms and legs attached to your sides like a toy. So because we're talking about communication, everything I just listed is involved with nonverbal communication. So let's discuss the other 3 in detail. Next is verbal communication. This is about how you speak. But how do you speak well? There are some different schools of thought over what makes good verbal communication. We're adding in 3 more ideas, what I'll be calling the ACE method. Authentic, clear, and exciting. Authenticity starts with being honest with your speaking partner. Speak like you're the polished version of yourself. Leave the troubles at the door and be present. Occasional lies in the name of joking around can be fine, but the majority of what you talk about that has to do with yourself shouldn't be made up, even if it makes you sound more interesting. Building a connection based off of false information is a guaranteed way to doom a relationship, or by lying about your league or Valo rank. Clear communication is about saying as much as you need to say. Try to be mindful of how much of the conversational space you occupy. This means when you're making a point, try not to be too vague or blunt. And try not to drag your speech on to the point your partner zones out or they can't find a way to join back into the conversation. Be mindful that taking everything too literally can lead to some issues. The truth is that many people don't say what they mean, so you'll sometimes have to read between the lines. Sorry to everyone, myself included, with the neurodivergent trait. Exciting communication is about making the conversation engaging. Give your partner more details to work with. If you're asked, what do you do? Or where are you from? Try to be more specific. Give them more information that can change the direction of the conversation. This way, even if someone asks you the same question, You can find yourself talking about different subjects based on which details they resonate with. Mix it up. Be capable of giving fun answers and genuine ones. The variety keeps you from recycling the same tired voice lines, and it stops your conversations from getting stale. On to the next piece, listening. For this one, the most crucial skill is to practice actively listening to your partner. This can be done by using positive body language from earlier, so try nodding when someone is speaking, or try leaning in and relaxing your body. While the game of conversation goes back and forth, it's about both parties finding a place to speak. So them talking is not about you waiting for your turn to talk, butt in, or change the subject for no reason. Even if you have a shared interest, allow time in between to listen to what your partner has to say, and then build off of that. It's a collaborative effort. If you want to talk by yourself, consider a podcast rather than a conversation. If you're still worried that your partner won't know if you're really listening, or if you feel like you may run out of things to say, you can try parroting. This is repeating their last few words in response, though make sure you don't do this every time. Keep things fresh. Depending on the environment, you may not be able to focus very well, so some locations with loud music or flashing lights may not be the best places to have deep conversations. So you may want to find a spot that's less active if you'd like to speak. The last part of communication is thinking. There's generally understood to be two systems of thinking. System 1 is automatic, intuitive and fast. System 2 is methodical, conscious and slow. We want to have conversations where you can bounce back from whichever one depending on the given context. If you feel like you talk too much or too fast, practice slowing down and giving more time between responses. And if you feel you don't speak enough or at all, then practice going with your gut instead of holding back to come up with a perfect reply. You may not accurately guess what it is the other person is thinking about the conversation, and really can only make guesses based off their body language and responses. A good strategy is to approach conversations in a mindful way. Don't come in with the expectation of receiving unrealistic key items from the encounter. You may get a number, or you may not. You may get an exciting interaction, or you may not. Don't set your expectations too high. When it's the first or second conversation with someone, you're still a stranger to them. If you approach friendly and not entitled, that will help you seem less pushy. Let's shift slightly. If you're trying to flirt with someone, much of it has to do with getting comfortable staying in sexual tension. The feeling of both participants not being fully aware of what the other is thinking can be exciting. Are they attracted to me? Are they gonna kiss me? These are the building blocks of attraction, alongside having shared emotional experiences. It's understandably frustrating not knowing whether someone is into you, but that's part of the ritual. It's not a rule, but it's important to get more practice flirting and entering that intimate space. So that means don't hold yourself back waiting for your soulmate to walk into the room to practice your flirting skills. Your social ability is a muscle, and like any muscle that goes unused, it will atrophy and lose stat points. Meeting new people is an opportunity for fresh interactions that possess more possibilities. So go for it. It's not like you're flirting with someone you see every day or is close to your inner circle. That's part of the reason people say not to date a coworker. It can get awkward if things go south. Though, I'm not saying don't date your coworkers, just learn to use your own discretion and make your own choices. I'm not your dad. I'm just the guy with the strategy guide. Before moving on, here are a few more pieces of communication advice. Ask questions. Be someone who thinks through what your partner is talking about and delve deeper. Surface level questions are okay, but you want to be able to bring out more from what someone is saying. It's almost like being a word detective. If they talk about something you don't know, ask them about it. Don't play cool and uninterested by saying nothing. Find interest in this other person and see where it leads you. Praise the positive and hold off on the negative. You may think that when you meet somebody that it's a good opportunity to deepen your affinity points by saying something emotionally vulnerable, but it may be better to hold off on the heavier subject matter for a later conversation. It's not that you avoid talking about it altogether, but after your first interaction, you might be less inclined to talk to someone if they seem to only talk about the skeletons in their closet. This also means that a good chatter doesn't make others feel bad for slip-ups in delivery or mispronunciation, so work to give others the benefit of the doubt. Finally, observe attention economy and social dynamics. When entering a social space, take a few minutes to digest the energy of the people and environment. You may be in a space where it's better to have higher energy, or be a little bit more thoughtful with what you say. You can start the night as a wallflower, but you need to choose which direction to bloom. If you talk to someone and they're making an effort to talk to you or be near you, that's a pretty good sign they enjoy your company so far. So learn to notice this and act accordingly. Second is hustle. This is your possessions and pastime. So what you have and what you can do. When hearing possessions, you may be inclined to think designer clothing, fancy suits, or a lot of DLC. And while these can be a component, let's think a bit broader. Possessions are either inherent, developed, or acquired qualities or quantities. So they can be things like physical characteristics, objects in your inventory, or personality traits that you possess. These can either be positive or negative depending on context. Inherent possessions are things gained without any type of work, like one's natural eye color or height. Basing judgment on these possessions tends to be shallow, as they're usually just RNG. Developed possessions are things that are cultivated through practice and work, like certain skills, achievements, or behavior. These can be created from certain inherent personality traits. For example, if you have high dedication, that could influence which skill trees or class selection you decide on, like becoming a doctor or a lawyer. Acquired possessions are circumstantial. This is where someone's family or socioeconomic or ecological factors affect what they have. So this could be coming from an affluent family or having access to region-locked quests. Basically, previously developed possessions from parents or role models create the conditions for acquired possessions. Pastimes are tangible or intangible. They're subtypes of developed and acquired possessions that have to do with how one spends their time, whether that's a hobby or a job, hence the name hustle. Depending on where you are, certain pastimes will be valued as more significant. These can also be methods to build towards other possessions. Tangible pastimes are sensory, can require certain accessories, and are focused externally. The ability to participate in certain activities can be seen as a status symbol. The more exclusive the activity, the higher its social value can be perceived to be. Not everyone gets to go jet skiing at a lakeside beach house on the weekends. While intangible pastimes can be abstract, require little to no materials, and are focused internally. Because there's a lower barrier for entry, these are generally not thought to be as highly valued. Everyone can go to the library and read a book. It's not particularly notable. That being said, most people have some kind of combination of both types they participate in. You may find some people really like it that you spend your time reading books, or that you go to the gym. Everyone has their own preferences. Any of these possessions or pastimes can affect one's own confidence. So if you have the right amount, or in the correct circumstances for them, you will have a value-based self-esteem. In contrast, a worth-based self-esteem is not based on traits, skills, or circumstances. For example, you could think that being a person means you deserve a certain level of respect, care, or happiness, regardless of any other quality that you possess. This key difference in self-esteem can cause issues. If you view your esteem based only on your external possessions, value-based, you can become unsatisfied with what you have and never feel that it's enough. And if you only view your esteem in terms of your internal value, worth-based, you risk losing the drive to improve yourself. A healthy combination of both types can keep us balanced in understanding that there are certain things we need and should expect to want. And there will always be things our societies will ask from us. Whether those things are actually right or wrong is not what we're talking about. It's that expectations will be made whether we agree with them or not. And our esteem should be multifaceted and not dependent on singular things or other player characters. Speaking of player characters, third is bonds. This is your reputation and attachments. So how others know you and what you're attached to. Your reputation is drastically shaped by appearance, actions, or location. These all change what your potential social links expect from you. Maybe it's the toned physique, maybe it's the elevated posture, or your choice of outfit. Reputation can be emphasized or changed by getting to know someone personally. That is through direct conversation or by word of mouth. Slight tangent, but while online dating has taken up the vast majority of how we meet and find dates, second place still belongs to meeting through friends. So even if the person you meet first is not a romantic match, you never know what your positive reputation can do for you. Some food for thought. When it comes to reputation, we may wear a mask to present ourselves accordingly to our environment. If we meet through a professional context, we'd probably not speak the same as we would at a party. And this isn't being fake per se, but it's a construct that we put on to better function in places where we have to mold ourselves to succeed or survive. This selling of our individuality is easy to see take place, and we can lose ourselves in doing this without any reflection, which is difficult for some individuals. Being told at home that you're worthless while at school you're the smartest kid in your class, or the reverse, can create pain inside yourself. Which one of those selves am I really? But let's put a pin in that for now. It's important that we recognize that changing our image can prove itself to be challenging. When you suddenly start equipping different clothing, working out, or go by a different username, that can be startling to other people who have a concept of who you are in their head. But there should be freedom to experiment with how you express yourself, and the ability to change your reputation. None of us truly stay the same over the course of a single playthrough. Resuming the topic of borrowing the image and reputation of a group. It can prove itself to be a tool that helps express what you may have not been able to do before. Of course, experiment with care. You may crash and burn and go through many images that might not feel right, so it's all gonna be based on vibes. There's a strong notion that you should accept whatever you have currently, and while there are many things in life that are out of your control, the way you choose to respond to the hand that life has dealt you is ultimately your decision to make. What I'm getting at is, trying to change is a worthwhile endeavor, whether that be working on your aesthetic, reputation, or negative behaviors that are stopping you from living the life you want. This goes hand in hand with attachments. The things, people, or concepts we have attachments towards determine what we value and the life we live. Whatever it is you're attached to, whether that's family, power, money, or God, becomes the basis that you judge your decisions by. From those key items you won't let go of, to the fully formed social bonds you possess. Our attachments inform us of who we are. It's no wonder why having others tell you things about yourself can make you believe them, evidence or not. It's crucial to know why we seek to form attachments, and that's because of our nature as social creatures. We want to be with others we care about. A key component to a good life is having others to share it with. Seek fulfillment and care for your body, but it's not about taking on life by yourself. Standard party structure and family groups we've established are part of the source code of our minds. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for assistance or be with others. It's strength, and it goes with the ability to give assistance back. Connecting these two ideas, we see that reputation really only matters around the people that we care about or have attachments towards. This is why you get into the state of people being apathetic about what they look like, what they say, or what they do in front of others who they don't have attachments to. And in some way, does this mean that their interactions can sometimes be more genuine? Maybe, but I don't see apathy as the true form of human interaction. It's interest and care. It shouldn't come at the cost of our self-awareness and growth. These three pillars so far have only really delved into the surface of what confidence seems to be. It's something noticeable, but let's analyze things a bit deeper. The fourth is mentality. This is your environment and identity. So where and when are you currently? And how and why does that affect your idea of self? We mentioned this earlier, but where you come from and when you are there can have effects on how you understand the world around you. We have to understand that if we believe the situations we're put in are real, they create real consequences for ourselves. We begin to form expectations because of how our environment and how others tell us to be and who that really makes us. If we're in unfit environments, we'll see ourselves lacking confidence. We'll be broken down by struggles and strife that don't create space for positive change. If you have no concept of your stance, the self-image, no matter what you look like or what you say, you'll never feel right in your own skin. If you have no concept of your hustle, the self-concept, no matter what you achieve or how worthy you feel, you may reach a point of stagnation that leaves you empty. If you have no concept of your bonds, the self-esteem, no matter who knows you or the attachments you've made, you'll feel separated from yourself. Loss of these ideas can lead to hypersensitivity, vulnerability, and maladaptive habits within the individual. And in extreme cases, psychological or psychiatric conditions could take place as well. This is why identity matters so much. Children have much less of an idea of who they are. They haven't built up the resistances to attacks on the self, even some adults lack this ability, or respond to the attacks in unhealthy ways. Maturity and emotional regulation is necessary for confidence, as it lets you review what is being said about you without it destroying the self in the process. That's why mentality is connected to self-awareness and acceptance. We need to trust in ourselves, in our skills, our fundamental worth, and expression to those we have attachments with. And this is done not by gaining things or through achievement, but by releasing the insecurities one has. Determining this difference starts by realizing that most of you at one time felt confident. That at one point you felt security and belonging. You were less concerned about being a better you, and could live as whoever you were. It wasn't until the moments of judgment or pain from others or your environment that this began to change, chipping away at the fabric of yourself. If you ever felt bad about performing poorly at a task or skill, that insecurity became part of you. If you were told, "Why can't you read this? Are you stupid? Why can't you figure this out? Why are you crying? You have nothing to cry about." The blood of these wounds became the paint that decorates the mask you wear, and eventually, that mask that hides your face starts to feel like the real thing. There's a sense of commitment to those scars that we gained over time, and this leads to tension within the self. It feels like you're betraying who you are if you change. But you didn't make the environment that molded you into who you are now. You had no decision in those situations. And it's easier to say the same if you think that you had control over those influences. But you need to decide if who you feel you are is who you want to be. It's unfortunate to say that it's easier to get positive feelings of the self from others, especially in people that don't have a vested interest in us. That's why compliments from fellow players resonate more than the millionth time your grandma compliments you. However, it wouldn't be right if we only talked about one extreme. Without adequate awareness of the concepts we discussed, we can have an overblown sense of grandiosity, entitlement, and superiority that can manifest itself into overconfidence. This can be thought of as a combination of three traits, those being overestimation, which is the belief that you are better than you are, overplacement, which is a belief that you are better than others, and overprecision, or the excess faith in that you know the truth. Over and underconfidence both lead us to a skewed understanding of our identity. So if too much or too little confidence can lead to issues, what steps can you take to find a middle ground? Let's explore acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT is a form of psychotherapy used for behavioral change through acceptance and mindfulness strategies. It proposes that what we fear is the root of our problems, that being fusion with your thoughts, or the lack of separation from one's thoughts, where they are taken as truth or that thinking becomes the same as taking an action. Evaluation of your experiences, or when you judge and label things like your feelings as being good or bad, or having a misevaluation of what is needed for a goal like lacking skills or resources. Avoidance of your experiences, or when you distract yourself from negative feelings such as with work or substances, or a general unwillingness to feel appropriate levels of discomfort, usually in pursuit of a goal. Reason giving for your behavior, or the beliefs and justifications put into place to stop you from doing, viewing, or changing your behavior. Essentially, any reason that acts as a barrier to change. The alternative of giving into fear is to act. Accept your thoughts and emotions, choose a valued direction, and take action. The 6 principles of ACT are cognitive diffusion. This is the process of separating yourself from your thoughts, feelings, and memories. Instead of accepting a negative thought as truth, notice that the pattern of thought is occurring. Acknowledging that it's happening means that you're separating yourself from it to observe it if it happens. This distance created can help us give these thoughts less control over us. Acceptance. This is allowing the unwanted experiences to occur without them arousing things in us. When we remove the struggle to fight them, they lose their power over us. Presence. This is being in the present moment, the here and now. Practicing mindfulness and limiting distractions helps us to focus inward from the noise of the world. This can be done with meditation, breath exercises, and journaling. By being present, we can heighten the awareness we have with thoughts and feelings as they enter our mind. This grounding centers us. Observation of self. This is witnessing the witnesser of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. That's the you that we're working to connect with. The unpleasant beliefs that get caught up in between blur the idea entirely. Instead of thinking that you're a failure or you're a good person, you just are. You're just you. All of that inflexibility of the self is an attachment made to this concept created over time. Your transcendental self is the context where you can observe your experiences and accept them as you need to. Values. These are the ideas that describe what is most important to oneself and explain how one wants to live now and the foreseeable future. Usually simple enough to be encapsulated by one word. Some examples include acceptance, adventure, courage, forgiveness, gratitude, patience, sexuality, or trust. Committed action. This is setting up goals according to your values and working towards them. Even if you falter in your action, you can fall back onto your values. You can commit to them despite any hurdles that will come your way. This gives us the appropriate flexibility in seeing how these changes may be difficult, but the pursuit forms the path for change. Fifth and final is ideology. This is your beliefs and perspective. So who you are and what is your meaning of life. There are plenty of paths to find self-meaning, whether that's through religion, success, or finding your own path. What is your responsibility to the world and those around you? What is it that gives you reason to push ahead? What makes you look forward to tomorrow? What you believe shapes the world you live in. If you fully ascribe yourself to the belief that nothing will get better and nothing will change, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle that is self-fulfilling. You'll feel trapped and lost in trying to find the real thing you want to do. But as cliche as it sounds, it's not the destination, it's the journey. The reality is that you don't need a grand purpose to live your life. There are no main quest or side quest. It's all the same thing. You don't need large aspirations to work towards. You don't even necessarily need to know the words to what it is. You may find it before you even realize that you have. The meaning you derive from existence will come as you make your way through the world and make time to take care of what you have to do. Eat well, clean your body, do physical activity, dress up and have fun with other people. This game isn't solo player after all. These moments can feel meaningless or pointless, and that's a matter of perspective. It's you who gets to see how these pieces form into your unique experience of existence. And even with that, the fact that all of us get to have our own perspectives makes it so we connect with one another through this realm beyond meaning, beyond the game we're playing. The word Sonder describes the idea that everyone you see is their own main character in their own story, trying to make it to the best of their ability with their own deep, complex web of connections, hopes, and dreams. But you're also a background character in someone else's life. When we talk about the meaning of our lives, this is the core of what our confidence is born from. When you know who you are beyond all the doubts and inhibitions that have welded themselves to you, you are not just what you look like, what you can do, what you have, who you know, where and when you are from, or how or why you think the things that you do. You just are. That's all you need to be. So that's the final guide to increase your charm stat, and the last piece to this mini-series. If you stayed to the end, I thank you from the bottom of my soul, heart, and body. This has been a blast to make, and I hope you enjoyed. Just because we're done talking about charm doesn't mean that we're done with these types of videos. I have at least 3 more mini-series planned for the future, but we'll have to save those for next time. As always, if you like the video, leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.